Hello students, now I will start with new topic, that is evolution. Evolution can be defined as the change in the characters of the species over several generations and that relies on natural selection. So we will see definition of evolution as the changes in characters of a species over several generations and that relied on natural selection. What does it mean? It means that when several generations of a living organism species is in the process or happening, during that time, obviously species will be survived basing on the natural selection. They will select which atmosphere is suitable for them to grow and develop. So, during that course of time period, there will be many changes in the characters that are expressed by the organism and the genotypes also, nothing but variations. So, all these constitute the process of evolution. We should remember one point that in universe, the biodiversity is always linked with evolution. So, biodiversity is interlinked with evolution in universe or evolution of universe. Now, what is this universe and how it is when it is formed? Universe is believed to be formed 20 billion years ago. Means it is estimated that universe is of 20 billion years old. Now, universe has many galaxies. Universe has many galaxies. The galaxy that we are present in is called as Milky Way. The well-known galaxy is Milky Way, means which we are living in. This Milky Way has solar system and Earth is existed as a part of solar system. Earth is a part of solar system. Now, this total universe exhibiting the process of evolution, it was first explained by Big Bang Theory. This theory was first proposed by George Lemaitre. Big Bang Theory states that there was a big explosion previously before formation of this universe at one place. Okay, there was a big explosion and all the particles that are formed from the explosion are dispersed into different parts or different directions. That led to lowering of the temperature And even today, and so that some of the gases have been evolved, and even today universe is keeping on expanding itself. Big Bang theory states that there was a big explosion which led to lowering of temperature and formation of gases like hydrogen and helium. Still, universe kept on increasing itself. After certain period, when these hydrogen and helium gases are formed, they both got condensed by their own gravity and gave rise to many different galaxies. Got condensed by gravitation and gave rise to many different galaxies. Next, when Earth was formed initially, its outermost surface, for suppose, if this is the Earth, because of continuous volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, whatever the core material that is present inside the Earth, it was continuously floating and spreaded on the outer surface of the Earth, which is in contact with the Earth layers, like this. When Earth was initially formed, if this is the central part is Earth, then there will be outermost area which is touching to it at the layers. It will be the molten mass. This is molten mass. From the molten mass was first evolved water vapor, methane gas, ammonia gas, and also carbon dioxide. These 4 different types of gases are believed to be released from the molten mass. Gradually, UV rays hit this water molecule which is in vapor form and has broken this one into hydrogen and oxygen molecules. Hit the water in vapor form and broken water into hydrogen and oxygen molecules. Since hydrogen is lighter than oxygen, it escaped to the outermost Earth atmosphere, to here somewhere. So it got disappeared. What about oxygen? Oxygen now combined with ammonia and methane and gave rise to other type of gases, that is nitrogen, CO2 and water. Gave CO2, water, nitrogen gases. High energy of UV rays or high energy UV rays of sun, they have broken the molecular form of oxygen, which those oxygen atoms in turn binded with other oxygen atoms and formed into ozone layer of sun broke molecular oxygen into atoms, which in turn these atoms binded with other oxygen atoms and gave rise to ozone layer. Some of the water vapor which is already present, it was cooled and got condensed and it came down to the near to the surface of the earth layers in the form of rain. That rain has filled all the depressions that are present on the earth surfaces. So water vapor was cooled and condensed and came down or fell down in form of rain. This rain has filled all depressions on earth. These filled depressions now gave rise to seas and oceans. They formed into oceans. It was believed that life has been originated on earth 500 million years ago. That is approximately equal to 4 billion years. Life on earth was believed to exist or arise 500 million years ago. This is approximately equal to 4 billion years ago. Now, this origin of life, it was explained with the help of different types of theories. Panspermic theory or Panspermia theory. Next is spontaneous generation theory. Next is about biogenesis theory. Next is chemogenic theory. In chemogenic theory, we will see about Miller and Yuri experiment. In spontaneous generation theory, we will see about who are the scientists that have proposed about the spontaneous generation theory and who are the people that try to disprove this spontaneous generation theory. Theories to explain origin of life. First one, Panspermia theory. This is also called as extraterrestrial theory. Next one is spontaneous generation theory. Third one is biogenesis theory. Fourth one is chemogenic theory. Commonly we used to call as chemical evolution theory also. Chemogenic theory. The first one, Panspermia theory, it was proposed by Arrhenius. So now we will start with this Panspermia theory in detail. This was proposed by Arrhenius. Panspermia theory is considered as the oldest theory. What Panspermia theory is telling? It is telling that there are some seed-like structures in the universe. Those got dispersed into different planets or different galaxies, and those gave rise to life. Even the famous Greek philosophers also have some means confidence and interest towards this Panspermia theory. It says that life has come from outer space in form of spores. It also states that spores are considered as unit of life. Panspermia theory states that spores are nothing but unit of life. Next. And these spores got dispersed onto different planets. Panspermia theory, it assumes that seed of life, seeds which are having life, are existed all over the universe. It assumes that seeds of life exist all over universe. So, life of Earth might have been originated from such one spore. Life on Earth might have been originated from such spore. Even today, most of the astronomers and many scientists have much interest towards this Panspermia theory. Another theory that is believed to be existed is spontaneous generation theory. It states that life has been originated from non-living and decaying matter and also rotten matter. It states that life originated from non-living matter, decaying matter, and rotten matter. Non-living, we can take examples like stones, sand, etc. Decaying matter, we can take example like decaying litter, decaying straw, and also mud-like structures. So here we can take examples like straw and mud. Here we can take examples like dead and decaying organisms or rotten meat. This spontaneous generation theory was accepted by Greek philosopher Aristotle and even also Antony van Leeuwenhoek, father of animal biology. Next, and also another person, that is John Needham. It was accepted by Greek philosopher Aristotle, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, and John Needham. So this John Needham has taken chicken broth in an open flask and he boiled that total without putting a lid. After that, he closed after boiling and removing from the flame. Then he covered the lid with a top with a lid. Then after some days, he has observed some of the microbes in that flask, in that chicken broth. So he told that initially I have taken the chicken broth which is completely boiled, means dead. Later I have seen the microbes in that broth. It means that life originated from non-living matter. He did experiment by taking chicken broth boiled in a flask without lid. After flame is off, then he covered flask with lid and have seen microbes in chicken broth after some days. So scientists believe this might be the truth behind, because one experiment was done by John Needham. So scientists believe that this might be the truth. Later, this was continued till Spallanzani, one scientist, and also Rudolf Virchow, and also Louis Pasteur and Francisco Redi. All these persons have disproved this spontaneous generation theory. So, this was disproved by Lazzaro Spallanzani, by taking, this person has took rotten meat, by taking rotten meat in an closed flask and open flask, etc. And some rotten meat covered by parchment membrane or muslin cloth. Now, when he has taken rotten meat in a closed flask, there was no existence of any microbe. In an open flask, there is existence of microbe. In the rotten meat that is covered by parchment membrane, still there is no existence of microbe. So Spelangeni tried to disprove this spontaneous generation theory. Some way he was succeeded. Spontaneous generation theory was disproved by, means previously we have seen about Spelangeni. Other persons involved in disproving of spontaneous generation theory is Rudolf Virchow, who has given a statement that omnis cellula e cellulae, which means the existing living organisms have been evolved from pre-existing living cells only. But he could not prove it. He couldn't prove what he said. Later, Louis Pasteur has proved this spontaneous generation theory is wrong by taking a swan neck bottle in which he has taken killed yeast. Disproved this theory by taking killed yeast in 2 bottles in 2 swan neck flasks. So, in closed flask, there was no life or no microbes. Another swan neck flask, in open flask, microbes appeared. In this way, he disproved that spontaneous generation theory is wrong. Next is about biogenesis. Biogenesis theory is proposed by Francisco Redi. So, Francisco Redi has demonstrated one experiment by taking maggots and flies on a closed rotten meat containing flask, and also maggots and flies on open rotten meat containing flask. So third one, biogenesis. This was proposed by Francisco Redi. In one flask, rotten meat plus maggots plus flies are taken. Now, this rotten meat is nothing but it was not any boiled or like. Next, maggots are dead. Flies are dead. Still here, there is no existence of life, means no microbes appeared. In the second case, he has taken rotten meat plus alive maggots plus alive flies. Here, new flies have been observed. Here, there are no new flies, we can write. But here, there is presence of new flies. Means these have given arise to next generation, that is new flies. So this is about biogenesis theory and spontaneous generation theory. Fourth one, chemogenic theory. Chemogenic theory is also called as modern theory of evolution. Now, it was divided into three parts. To explain, first one is chemogeny. Second part to explain is biogeny. Third one is Genogeny. It means first evolved are biomolecules. This theory explains that, it was explained by Oparin and Haldane. Oparin in 1924 has written a book called Origin of Life. In that he stated what are his contributions regarding evolution of the biomolecules. These have been evolved from the existing chemical substances only. It was believed that conditions during early stages of Earth are, first one, temperature is of 800 degrees centigrade, and next, energy is in form of UV rays and also lightning. Energy is in form of UV rays and lightnings and thunders. Next, third condition is during the initial days of the earth formation, there are torrential rains, means heavy rains. Those are considered to be responsible to fill all the depressions of the earth. So, torrential rains filled the depressions and formed into huge water bodies. Next. So here we have seen the temperature as 800 degrees centigrade. Slowly this temperature started getting down or decreased. Later, temperature came down to 100 degrees centigrade. This is nothing but temperature at which water boils, is water boiling temperature. At this 100 degrees of centigrade, it was believed that minerals and some of the substances got dissolved in water and converted into a broth-like substance. At this temperature or at this 100 degrees centigrade of temperature, minerals and other substances got dissolved in water and formed into broth. Now, the gases might be present on the outermost surface of the earth. What are those gases? Gases on earth are ammonia, carbon dioxide, methane, water in vapor form, hydrogen, and helium. So all these made the atmospheric condition into anaerobic conditions. So now anaerobic conditions prevailed. Some of the gases among these might have been mixed along with the broth and gave rise to the biomolecules like sugars, aldehydes, purines, etc. These molecular gases mixed with broth that we have written here and gave rise to biomolecules like sugars, aldehydes, purines, pyrimidines, fatty acids, etc. All these are considered as simple compounds. These are simple compounds. This is about chemogeny theory. Next we will see about biogeny. The simple compounds that are formed in the chemogeny, now they got converted into the largest complex compounds called as proteins, carbohydrates, etc. The complex compounds formed from simple compounds are proteins, DNA, RNA, carbohydrates, lipids, etc. So, in case of biogeny, the simple compounds that are formed in the chemogeny now got converted into active biomolecules or complex form of biomolecules. Next one is cogenogeny. We should remember while reading about all these three types of chemogeny, biogeny, cogenogeny that chemogeny theory was evolved during unfavorable conditions. Now here, proteins that are formed in the biogeny again got mixed with the broth that is formed in the chemogeny and aggregated to form protobionts. Protobionts are considered to be first living cells or life containing cells. are first life on earth. These are also called as eobionts. These protobionts are considered to be equal to coacervates. How can we differentiate this and the similarities and the differences? These are also considered to be first existing. Coacervates considered to be a type of protobionts. Protobionts do not reproduce, but coacervates are also a type of protobionts, but they reproduce by budding. If we see some of the examples under coacervates, we can see photosynthetic synthets. Next, chemoautotrophs and also chemoheterotrophs. We can write chemophototrophs instead of autotrophs. Next, chemoheterotrophs. Next, we can also write, because there are some of the chemical substances that are responsible for synthesis of food, so we can also include chemoautotrophs. What are these photosynthetic synthetes? They does photosynthesis, but oxygen is not released. But oxygen is not released. So this is about the cogenogeny. Now, the proof of presence of chemogeny theory was given by Yuri and Miller in 1953. Experimental proof of chemogeny theory was given by Yuri and Miller in 1953 year. They have conducted an experiment to understand this chemogeny theory. The main aim of conducting this experiment is to explain origin of life. Aim is to explain origin of life during unfavorable conditions. The diagrammatic representation of Yuri and Miller experiment. They have taken a round bottom flask. They have connected the electrodes. Electrodes are substitution for lightning or power. They have connected this one with another type of flask which is continuously heated, and inside that flask is taken marine water and there near to the round bottomed flask was arranged condensers for cooling. The gases that they have taken in round bottom flask are ammonia, methane and hydrogen. The ratios are 2:2:1 of ammonia, methane and hydrogen gases. The current or the power passed with help of these electrodes is nearly 800 degrees centigrade. 800 degrees centigrade of temperature. When water is continuously boiled under the flame, then what happens? This water is converted into water vapor and it is used to transfer through the tube like this and come to this round bottomed flask. Here the temperature is very high and there are different types of gases. Now all of that water vapor at this temperature condition, all types of gases will be converted into droplets in presence of these condensers, because some of the gas will be moving in this direction also. So when those droplets have been again passed into the same test tube in which is containing marine water, means the marine water has now got mixed with different types of gases at this temperature and they change their chemical nature now, because the water droplets are not having only water vapor now. Now they are having a mixture of ammonia, methane and hydrogen gases. This experiment was continued for 7 days. It means that continuous boiling of the marine water was for 7 days and also the vapor kept on moving into the round bottomed flask for 7 days, and also the droplets from this condensed water vapor kept on falling because of the condensers that are fitted on either side into back to the previous marine water. Continuously this process was done for 7 days. It means continuous marine water boiling and water droplets back to marine water. This process was continued for 7 days. To understand this, Yuri and Miller experiment, round bottomed flask is taken and ammonia, methane and hydrogen gases are taken in the ratio of 2:2:1. Now, here in the water droplets from the condensers, the type of substances, different substances observed are some types of amino acids like glycine, glutamic acid, aspartic acid, purines, pyrimidines, etc. Observed are amino acids like glycine, aspartic acid. Next, purines and pyrimidines. So, by this experiment, what Yuri and Miller have concluded? They have concluded that from the chemical substances, biomolecules have been evolved like purines and pyrimidines. In the same way, later these pyrimidines are seen in the living organism's body? It means that living organism's body is formed with help or from the chemicals only. That we will write in a sentence form. Conclusion is chemicals like ammonia, methane, and hydrogen gave a rise to biomolecules. Now, this is one point. Another one. Biomolecules made the body of living organism. It means that living organisms are completely made up of chemicals. So, living organisms or life are made from or are evolved from chemicals. So, in this way, chemogenic theory was proved by Yuri and Miller. Again, I am telling the conclusion is chemicals gave rise to biomolecules. Biomolecules are nothing but they are framing out complete living organism's body, and also the survival of living organism's body is because of the metabolisms that are happening inside living organism's body. So completely a living organism was formed from chemicals. So this is about Yuri and Miller experiment.